Hello everyone, happy you could be here. Let's dive in. Sit at My Grave, Season 3, Ego's Death, Chapter 29. Music played lightly in the background, a familiar sound. Tension lingered in the air. It had been a mix of comfort, excitement, pain, and slight guilt poisoning the atmosphere. "Can we turn that off?" a stressed, annoyed voice finally asked. The group were all together in a room, but clearly had different things on their minds. "Can't stand the original anymore, huh?" was her snotty reply. "Guys, let's not start this again. Come on," another voice chimed in, already sounding exasperated. "I don't know why we can't listen to the original. It's what got us started," she said a little louder. "Amory, you gotta stop picking fights over nothing." A gentle hand was placed on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off. She stood up, gazes in the room going to her, waiting to see what she'd do next. "I'm not..." Emery began getting combative, but eventually sighed. She held the coat around herself. "It's hard. I know it is. But we can't keep making decisions and then getting stuck when we have to actually go through with them. This is bad for all of us for a lot of reasons." Carrie spoke up. You guys just seem so ready to move on," Emery muttered, casting her gaze down. Carrie threw his hands up, walking away a little. He didn't want to be blunt, but going in circles just hurt worse than pushing forward or stopping. It was like being stuck in a constant state of misery, refusing to see the sunlight. "We've already sent a lot of our music in. The scout liked us in the beginning. He was talking about setting us up with recording some professional tracks, getting accepted by a label. We can't keep putting things on hold. We already missed too many appointments," Carrie stressed again. "Yeah, they've been really chill with everything. We don't want them thinking we aren't, like, professionals or whatever," Eric told her, inhaling smoke, easily letting it flow back out as he laid onto the couch. "He's given us more than enough time. He even said we could try to rebrand a little if we needed to before we talk to the suits. But still," Gary complained. "Well, what do you expect me to do? Change your songs and just walk in to record like nothing's happened?" Emery shouted. "It's been months," Gary yelled back. Eric's relaxed demeanor shifted, eyes widening, while Carrie quickly got up, making sure to be between Emery and Gary. "If it only takes you a couple months to forget about your friend and leader of this band, that's your problem. It just shows how heartless you are," Emery shouted, fighting back tears. Gary moved to approach her, but Carrie put his hands up, trying to stop him. Gary gave him a look, and Carrie let him pass with a gentle sigh. "We miss him too," Gary started, voice a bit more calm now. Emery scoffed, looking away from him. "We do. It's just... I think it's really a selfish thing not to keep the band going, just because we're upset. This was..." Gary stopped for a moment, looking down. "It was his dream," Eric finished for him. Emery swiftly rubbed at her eyes, keeping her gaze away from everyone. She knew that better than anyone. She remembered the way his eyes lit up when he talked about doing music, how it seemed the baggage he carried melted away into what he created. It was something beautiful. Seeing Reed happy was something she never got tired of. Emery clutched the coat tighter to herself. His scent was long gone, but she continued wearing it, spraying it with the remaining cologne he left behind. It had become a thing of comfort. She wanted so badly to carry on and do this for Reed, let his music be heard, but still, she felt so dirty doing it without him. If she could hear what he wanted exactly, she'd do it without much of a second thought. But she didn't know, and she was scared if she really poured herself into leading this band for him, she would mess it up somehow, that they would stray too far from his original dream. "Amory, there's nothing we can do about what happened, but we have an opportunity, and we have to take it. If things don't work out, then they don't, but sulking isn't bringing them back," Carrie told her honestly. Emery wanted to shout at him, but she knew he was right. Reed wasn't coming back for her. She could never truly get over someone she loved so much, for screwing her own life up along with everyone else's, wasn't helping. Yeah, Ems, come on. Sulking just isn't our vibe anyway, Eric joked a bit. Emery smirked as she fussed with the jacket zippers. They'd all been so patient. They'd all bonded even more with the loss of Reed, and she was thankful for that. Why don't we go out tonight? We don't have to talk about band stuff. We'll just go and have a good time. We'll deal with all that tomorrow or whatever, Eric suggested, taking another smooth inhale. You're acting like we don't go out anymore, Emery said, rolling her eyes. I mean, we go out without you getting so upset about it. It's like we can party and still talk about Reed, Eric said. Everyone looked at him a bit uncomfortable. They talked about him, sure, but tried not to mention his name a lot. It always seemed no one was ready for it yet. It's not taboo, Eric said, sitting up. He's not with us, but he's still with us, he continued, placing a hand on his heart when he spoke. You're right. How do we let this guy be the voice of reason, huh? Carrie joked, pushing on him some. Come on, guys, I have good ideas sometimes, Eric chuckled. Sometimes it's generous, Carrie chimed in. Emery's small snicker turned into a laugh, causing the guys to stop and stare briefly. Let's stop standing around. I thought we were going out, she replied, placing a hand on her hip. Uh-oh, Miss Sassy's back, Eric joked, taking another drag. What have we done? Gary shook his head. Get out of here. If you guys are here any longer, I'm going to have to disinfect my entire apartment, Emery said, rolling her eyes. They chuckled a bit, Eric shaking his hand, mouthing that stings, before they walked out. I'll be there in a second, Emery called. We'll be waiting, was the last thing she heard before the door slammed shut. Emery's smile faded once they left. Just that joke she made reminded her of something Reed might say. As hard as it was maintaining a relationship with him at times, still, when she thought of him, love was the first thing that entered her mind. His mannerisms, his style, the way they could bounce off each other, his quips. Emery played with the zipper again. There was no time limit on mourning, but she knew part of her not being able to fully get back to life was her own fault. She figured she knew more about Reed's upbringing than most people close to him did, and because of that, taking this opportunity just didn't feel right to her. I don't want to use you too, Reed, Emery spoke quietly. Singing his songs, taking his pen, it just felt like he was being screwed over again, even in death. Besides missing him in general, she didn't want to do anything to hurt him, whether he was there to protest it or not. During this process of mourning and getting back to her life, some days felt better than others, but sometimes her mind would bring up old memories, seemingly out of nowhere. It brought her back to her first meeting of Reed, getting close to eventually dating. He didn't know much about having a good, solid relationship, despite being with others before meeting her. But regardless, not being shown a healthy way to be with someone that closely, he did care, and that was enough to build a foundation. Emery sat down for a moment, holding herself in his coat. We were friends, and it turned into more. He colored the gray parts of my life and made me see a bigger dream. He was funny. The energy around him was always so easy to be in. I liked myself more when we were together, Emery reminisced. He taught her not to take things and herself so seriously, in an ironic way. I can't pinpoint when I fell in love. Sometimes I think we were always in love and just falling deeper all the time. But I remember when I started to get jealous when he was around other girls. What we had was special. I didn't want to share what I found with anyone else. I remember when I started looking at things from a different perspective because of him. The way he cared for his family despite so much. The stupid things he'd laugh at or get excited over. I heard music differently because of how he made it. I remember a little while after a nasty fight, I had gotten pretty sick shortly after. And in that time, I already put into my mind we wouldn't be making up. I couldn't see myself apologizing, and I didn't think he really saw himself staying with me anyways. Probably glad we had an excuse not to be around each other. But he was there. I remember what he said when I asked him why he had showed up for me. Just because we're mad at each other doesn't mean you aren't my girlfriend anymore. He couldn't have said I love you any better, she gently said aloud. It wasn't a big thing, a small gesture really, but the way he did it, the way he said it, almost surprised that she thought any differently. It solidified something that day. He wasn't easy to be with, but neither was she. They made it work, and it was all worth it in the end. It's been a while, and she was getting better, accepting the loss. But there was one thing really chewing at her mind. She didn't want to just use him and forget him. She explained those things to her sister, whom had also been one of the first people to notice when she really started to like Reed before, and often tease her about it in their earlier days. The advice that stuck out to her was similar to what Eric brought up. You don't have to forget him completely to live your life, but you are allowed to die alongside him, Kiana had told her. It was a while after Reed's funeral, and Emery's sister Kiana and her cousin Leah, whom they'd grown up with, came over to cheer her up and hang out. They spent the day together, but later, when Emery had gone to bed, Kiana called her. She knew regardless of how much fun she had out there, she was still hurting, and after talking for a while, that's the advice she left her with. Emery agreed. As much as it pained her being without Reed, she was noticing she was losing herself and missing him. She kept so many of his little things in her apartment, just hardly without his jacket, and even declined going out with her friends a lot too. She had to apologize for being overly irritated when she was with them, and when she would get into her moods. She'd gone through the anger, the sadness, the denial. Emery wordlessly took off Reed's coat, gently laying it on the couch. It was time for acceptance. She couldn't live like this. Besides the band, she'd also gotten sloppy with her other job. It was like she was constantly caught in the middle, unable to move forward with any life path. This was unacceptable. Nothing could take away from the time they spent together. Nothing could make her forget how he made her feel when they were together. There was something magical about being in love, that the whole world was brighter. But the loss after a love like that was agonizing. There's nothing I can do to bring you back, baby. But I will push forward for your dream. I will get back to being myself. Life after you will never be as good as life with you, but I have to live it, Emery thought. One of the things Reed loved about her was her spunk. He liked that she was opinionated and sure of herself. He loved the passion from her. She loved those things about herself too, and it was time to get back to them. Emery took her purse, put on her shoes, and headed out with her own jacket. She smiled, greeting her bandmates, jeering back at them when they teased her for taking a while. But in her head, she promised herself, when she got back, she would finally begin putting Reed's things away. She wasn't ready to throw them out just yet. She wasn't sure if she ever would be. But it was time to put them on a shelf and start her new chapter.